Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Trading the Close. My name is Gareth Soloway, Chief Market Strategist here at VerifiedInvesting.com. All right, so we have some decent price action today in specific stocks. The S&P was very, very quiet today. The Dow had a nice gain. We'll look at the indices in just 1 minute. But really, it was all about Coinbase, Bitcoin, Tesla. Those were the names that were moving today. And then gold was selling sharply. And we're going to go into that chart because I've been warning you in these Trading the Closes and game plans that gold was going to sell. I even told you I was short gold and that we got out half last week holding the second half, still riding that down as the charts told us it was going to sell. All right, so we'll look at that in just 1 second. Follow me over to the big board. Let's take a look at the indices right here. We have the Dow up 327 points. So that's a nice gain on the Dow, right? That is a very, very solid move to the upside. But this is what's interesting. If you look at the NASDAQ, just up 7 points on the day. All right, if we look at the S&P, just up 5 points. So those two main indices, very, very quiet today, not much going on, while the Dow is taking over and running up. Now remember, the Dow tends to be more defensive names, and it's only 30 stocks. So if you just have 1 or 2 stocks in the Dow that are making big moves, then you know you're going to get a big move in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. All right, so let's take a look here. What do we have? We have oil trading down $2.20 or 3%. We have gold getting smoked. This is a big move, 2.23%. May not seem like a lot to crypto investors or anything like that, but for gold, that is a big time drop. And again, beautiful short that we had, and hopefully you guys, some of you guys tagged along on that trade with me. On the other side, you have gold down over 2%, but Bitcoin roaring up about 8.5% today. What a move on Bitcoin, guys. Bitcoin, again, breaking above that 74,000 high pivot from March and then ripping to the upside and continuing to climb. I do have some resistance in this range, but honestly, after this range, there's not a whole lot else. We talked about maybe 100K in the cards. Could 120,000 be in the cards? I think it is. The question is, does it pull back first? I would expect a retrace to the scene of the crime. We'll look at that in just a second. All right, looking at this. So we see that the NASDAQ is slightly green, but look, NVIDIA down 1.5%, Apple down 1.5%, Microsoft down 1%, Meta's down today as well, right? So Amazon's down almost 1%. So we're seeing the mega trillion, multiple trillion dollar stocks down huge on the day. How the heck is the NASDAQ reaching a gain on the day? There's just one simple stock that's controlling it, Tesla, right? So TSLA, Tesla is running again. I think it's up about 7%, maybe 6% on the day. It did go up as much as 10% earlier in the day. We did catch a nice short on that. So again, good short in the live day trading room today where we were able to short and make about $5 a share. Easy trade on Tesla there. But in any case, Tesla is controlling the NASDAQ. Now we have the S&P up here. So a couple things to go over. I have some new trend lines we want to walk through here on the S&P 500. We can see that this low here connects almost through here, right through here, and then you drag a parallel up, and these lines are almost exactly parallel, and they go back to these lows. And so what this tells me is that we've talked about how the S&P might go up as much as to 6,100, and that would be right up here. And I think, again, listen, we're kind of due for a small check back on the markets. I could see a pullback right into this area here, which is the former high right there. But then my guess is you still have around 6,100 in the cards. Again, my target range was 6,000 to 6,100. We have now achieved 6,000, even though we're technically trading down just below it into the close. We did pierce and get above today, but eventually you could get to that 6,100 level, at which point, as I've said to you guys, I'm still looking to accumulate the puts on the S&P for a bigger move that I think could come in late January, early February, potentially starting to the downside. All right, let's take a look at a couple of these other charts here. I did talk about Tesla here. I want to show you this, guys. So Tesla right now is actually up almost 9%. Big rally back towards the end of the day, but look at where it is on the chart. So again, almost a 50% move in 1 week. So again, 1 week, 50% on Tesla, but look at what it's hitting. And this is one of the reasons why I think it could be due for a pullback. The 786 Fibonacci retrace from the all-time high to the low of 2023. So if you do a Fibonacci retrace, the 786 is right there. My guess is it's due for some sort of check back, maybe back to about the 320 level, which would be gap fill right here, maybe even lower, but 320 would be the conservative downside target. Now, we talked about the other mega caps being down on the day. Apple's down again 1.2%, dropping about $2.73. Even Nvidia today had a nice little down day here, and again, that still potentially could go up to 158 on the chart, but again, today it did pull back just a little bit. All right, I know you all are here for Bitcoin, so let's take a look at this Bitcoin chart. So let's walk over to the big board and see what we have here. So, all right, Bitcoin, incredible run here. All right, altcoins, a lot of the altcoins have had 100% or greater runs. Incredible as well. So now what we're looking at is, all right, so number one, here was your former pivot high at 74,000. That is a level that once we broke out, and let me just draw a trend line as good as I can here. So you can see we kind of came up and then we broke out, right? So classic technical level there across the board. But the idea is, well, where could this go? And really at this point, this is really the last line in the short term that I have for anything below, I would say, 100,000, right? So you have a trend line right here, starting back here, going through here, and there, right? So that is what we're piercing. We're actually piercing it right now. So you might, again, we have to, do we see a close above? We must see confirmation to solidify a break above this line. If that happens, I do think 100,000 is a possibility. All right, now, if it doesn't confirm, then you have to think that this is still in play for a check back to what we would call that scene of the crime, right? The scene of the crime back to about the $74,000 level, all right? My line's a little downsloping, but you guys get it. It's back to the former pivot. Always remember, in technical analysis, you have your highest point. This was your all-time high. You break above it, and then you come back to check back into that level right there. And that will now be support. It was resistance. It kept price, again, it kept price underneath. Even over here, it pierced it and came back in. But the key is once it breaks out, this now resistance line becomes support, where if Bitcoin were to pull back, that now becomes your support for maybe your next leg higher. All right, so again, keep an eye on that. I'm watching very closely this 87,000-ish area. Again, my last trend line of resistance before we go start talking about logarithmic charts that then take us towards that 100,000 marker point, okay? All right, couple other things here. We got to go into gold. So gold and Bitcoin moving inversely today. And honestly, that's kind of been the way it's been, right? All right, so I did warn that we were likely going to see a pullback on gold here, and that is exactly what we have. We'll go back to the big board to discuss this. And so really understand what's going on, right? Why is gold selling? Well, number one, it was overbought. Number two, it was into resistance. Number three, remember when Bitcoin was running early in the year in 2024 and gold was struggling? And it was more like, and so many people were like, oh, gold's over, no one wants gold, it's all about Bitcoin. Well, that same sort of money flow is at play here, in my opinion. So what you have is investors saying, well, I have my gold, but Bitcoin's running, so let me sell some of my gold and go into Bitcoin. And I think that is happening here. And so you're seeing gold coming in. I still have my downside target here right around 25.25 to 25.50 area, and that would be the low end of the channel. Now, there's no guarantees that gold stops, but that should at least be some sort of bounce level there. Then we'll have to watch and see what Bitcoin does. But again, notice the inverse relationship. When did gold top? Just as Bitcoin was breaking out above 74,000. And as gold has fallen, Bitcoin has gone the opposite way and continues to. And you can see the move on gold today. Gold having a big day for gold to the downside, Bitcoin having a big day to the upside, and really all weekend long, Bitcoin had a great move to the upside. So I do think there's that little bit of a movement there. Also, the last thing I'll mention is gold is a risk-off asset. Even though it's performed well and kind of mirrored the S&P, it's still considered a safe haven, right? And what we're seeing is, especially since Donald Trump's election, it's all about risk on, like go into risk, buy altcoins, buy crap coins, the Doges, the SHIBs, all those, right? And that's creating this risk on movement that, again, has people questioning, well, why am I holding gold when Bitcoin and all the rest of these risk assets are just going nuts to the upside, including Tesla. Again, Tesla's trading like a crypto, and in some ways it makes sense, right? Because, again, Elon has been a fan of crypto, and Trump, we know, at least he says he's a fan of crypto, and so these are all reasons why crypto is rallying, but also why gold could be pulling back and is likely pulling back here. All right, just a couple other things real quick here. Let's just go through our silver chart. If we take a look at silver breaking technical support. It's unconfirmed, so that's fine, but I'm still looking for this 29 or sub 29 target price. So far, I've been dead on this in terms of saying don't buy here at 32.50 support. It's going to go lower, and that's exactly what we've seen. If we look at oil today, oil coming down. Again, I talked about this morning in the game plan, that you have this 65 level of support. As long as it holds, okay, that's good. But if it breaks, it's a major break. When you hammer on a trend line this much, when it finally, or if it breaks, it's like a floodgate opening or a dam breaking, and you can get a big move to the downside. I would think 50 could come within months of a break of 65. The question is, what does that say about the U.S. economy or the global economy if that happens? And then natural gas had a great move today, folks. Monster rallied to the upside, but it has still not achieved any sort of resistance that I would consider playing as a trading opportunity yet. So we'll follow that level, but really $3.20 is the spot to watch. All right, folks. So amazing day. The S&P again and the NASDAQ almost unchanged. Dow had a great day. Gold smoked while we saw Bitcoin surge along with Tesla. So it's the haves and the have-nots today, no doubt about it. Let's see if it's a more broad-based rally tomorrow, or do we get a pullback in the markets. I'll be back bright and early tomorrow, 9 a.m. for the Game Plan Live, going over all the trade setups for the day. Have a great rest of your day, folks. I'll see you then. Take care.